welcome to our beloved parishioners. I'm Bailee.
I'm Ashley.
And this is Praise Be to Pod. Thank you so much for joining us.
What's on your heart today, Bailee?
Okay, well, it finally happened. I was able to get into the salon. And so I'm back to my default blonde state. Well, not default, because this is not what my natural hair looks like. But this is where I'm fully embodied and centered. This is the exact color composition that it's supposed to be. And I hate to admit how much it's improved every area of my life and my self-concept. Like, you'd think like, oh yeah, someone just got their hair done. They got a little like
a boost.
Yeah, a little boost, a little pip in their step or whatever. No, I like finally feel worthy of love again. Like I'm navigating the world from a different framework now. I've had a paradigm shift because of it. Like
amazing.
It's wild. And the scary thing about it is that this isn't my real hair color.
Yeah.
So
that's who you should be.
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, I'm finally myself again. Like if the grid ever goes down and I can't go to the salon anymore and I have to just become me.
Just get rid of all the mirrors too.
Oh, I don't know. My luck, I'll just be like imprisoned in a room full of mirrors.
I saw my mom this weekend and she was like, wow, your hair's so dark. Did you color it? And I was like, do you know how much I hate my dark hair?
Oh my goodness.
Why are you saying it's so dark?
Do you think that she was being...
No, she likes it. Yeah. She was just being
I think it looks really nice too.
That's your natural color? Like I didn't realize it was so dark. And I was like...
So your natural color looks like what some people would try to actually get in the salon. My natural color is dishwater blonde, and it's not a great look. I mean,
I think blondes do have a harder time with on.
I think so too. I had like honestly, when I was a little girl, my hair looked like this, and then it faded into the dishwater blonde. And I will also say there are some people that can pull it off a little bit more. I don't know what it is about me. It dulls me.
Yeah.
Like my eyes look different. My skin looks different. Like I think one of the first things you said to me was that I looked brighter. And yeah, I don't know.
I agree. Looks great.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what's been on my heart. What's on your heart?
Okay. So I am helping out a coffee shop with their social media. And we were just like chatting one day. And the couple that owns the place is like, I don't know, early 30s probably.
Okay.
I don't really know how old they are, but something like that. And they just got married and we were just talking about like if they wanted kids or not. And she was like, oh, do you want kids? And I was like, no, I'm like in my 40s. And they were shocked. And I just feel like people don't know what someone in their 40s looks like anymore.
I would agree, actually.
Like, I know they were being nice, and that's a nice thing to say. Like, oh, you look so great. But like, I also don't think I'm an exceptional young looking person.
Yeah.
I think that I stayed up with the trends. It's like that makes you look old real quick. If you still wear the clothes you wore in college, you'll look like you did. You'll look really old.
Yes.
If you never do your hair, you'll look old. You know, if you don't like adapt to any new makeup trends, you'll look old. If you do too much, then you'll look weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have some thoughts about that too, because the thing is 40 is young.
Yeah.
Like 40 is not synonymous with being old. So when people say you look so young as a like paradox to being 40, I just don't think it makes sense. To be honest, I think that what they're used to is what their mom looked like when they were 40s, when she had to work full time and do all of the child rearing. And it was a badge of honor to like sacrifice yourself for your family and never do self-care.
Well, I mean, that's still what a lot of my friends are doing today. And they don't look like they're in their 40s.
Did they have kids a little bit later though? Because I have noticed that if you have kids a little bit later and like after you've found your look and like hit your stride, you kind of can maintain that. But it's hard to find your look after having kids.
I think like if you look at Seinfeld, and how old those people were in that show.
They look old.
They look so old. Like, I think George was like 30 or something. He looks like 55.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
There's just like some sort of gap where people stopped dressing like they thought they were supposed to at a certain age, you know?
I don't even think it's just his clothes, though. He looks
and his
quite
hair
old.
and his styling. Like,
yeah, it's very strange to me. But I have also heard a lot of people talk about how millennials in particular look very young. And that Gen Z now looks older than millennials because they were marketed excessive skincare.
Yeah.
And it was overcomplicated and it ended up like temporarily making them look good, but then it aged them. And I think that we were at the sweet spot where we had enough internet to show us how to do our skin, but we also like didn't have a lot of options either. So like maybe we just found the sweet spot. Because I do think that simplicity is
consistency for sure.
Consistency and also simplicity goes a long way with skincare.
I remember as a kid, I would go with my mom to Mary Kay parties and she would lecture me about how to take care of my skin. Like this is like I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
It has been drilled into me. If you go to bed with your makeup on, you will look like a haggard beast when you're older.
Oh, I think that every woman at least twice a year should go to bed with her makeup on.
I would never.
Oh, I would. Because it means that you were out late having fun and you didn't prioritize winding down because you were like living life, and then you collapse on your bed.
I would never.
I think it's a marker of like a well-rounded life.
Like going to a music festival, blackout, I would still wash my face.
Okay.
It's like a serious, I would like obsess over it if I did it.
Yeah. If I was, it's harder for me to do that now because I feel like I have to do a good night shower to fall asleep. But if I'm camping and I don't have access to it, I just kind of acclimate.
I would probably have like a wipe.
I wouldn't be wearing
something,
makeup camping, but yeah.
So anyway, I just think this has been a story of my life for a long time. And I think a lot goes into it. I know it's like, oh, that's a nice thing to say that I look young, but also I was really into tallow for my face for like 10 years.
Tallow?
Yes.
Like beef tallow?
Yes.
What is that exactly?
Beef fat.
Oh.
Rendered beef fat.
And you put it on your face?
Yes, because I have very dry skin and it's like, it's really good for eczema. That's how I got started on it. Yep.
That is kind of wild. Okay, I have one more thought about this before we move on. So I have been kind of rethinking how I use the word young as a compliment because one day you are not going to look young anymore. And if you're constantly hearing that youth or being young is like a word that's used to describe when you look good, eventually you're going to have to let that go. But if you haven't deconstructed that young doesn't necessarily mean beautiful all the time, like how are you going to age and still love yourself or find the beauty in age? I like am genuinely been thinking about that lately.
Yeah.
Because so many people are like, Bailee, you don't have any wrinkles. This is amazing. You're so lucky. And they like say it as like with a sense of urgency, like this is going to make her feel so good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it might make me feel really good right now, but wrinkles
like
wrinkles are headed my way. Absolutely, for sure. And if people were trying to like convince me that I don't have wrinkles, I'm like, okay, so what happens when I do? Like, is it over? Yeah. Like now they're going to reframe it as I love your wrinkles. I'm like, really? Because you were like terrified of the threat of them for a really long time.
You know, it's a wild world out there.
Yeah.
And there's lots of things we can do for our wrinkles.
I guess so. I don't mind them so much.
Someday.
I do like crow's feet a lot. I don't think I'll ever touch those.
Yeah, they're cute.
And I don't mind forehead wrinkles. I do see that my face is starting to sag a little bit. I don't like a saggy face. That I will fix.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot going on these days for that.
Yeah, they do.
I'm going to follow up that conversation with a plug for our Patreon.
Okay.
Because I don't think we've announced that we recapped Twilight and put it up on the Patreon for quarter one. And Jacob, have you seen Twilight yet?
You guys aren't going to believe what I did this weekend. I didn't watch it.
Oh my God. No.
I still haven't seen it.
I'm not Team Jacob anymore.
It's okay. He's a groomer, so.
Oof, yeah.
Oh, in the movie, I was like, wait, what? He just got married to a. I thought the actor.
Oh. No, I'm talking about Jacob.
Taylor Lautner, classic groomer.
No. He just married Taylor.
Yep.
Taylor and Taylor Lautner.
Yeah. What? Yep. Would you ever do something like that?
No.
Okay. That would be a deal breaker. An Ashley.
Yeah.
Okay.
More common for you though.
I guess so. I've never met a guy Bailee, but
my cousin's name's Bailee.
Oh, it was originally a guy's name.
Yeah, but now it's much more a girl's name.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, Patreon plug. We do have a Twilight episode up. We have our episode up with Jacob. If you want to finally see what his face looks like, you can see it in the Patreon episode. And then upcoming, we're going to have an interview with the infamous Skip, one of our good friends. So, time to become an accountability partner.
Yes.
And sign up for Patreon. These are also available to buy them one-off if you just want to watch them and not be a monthly subscriber. So that's it for the Patreon plug.
Yes.
Anything to add? You think to
I'll
add?
probably be writing something soon. I'm
Mhm.
having not a dark night of the soul, but I'm having some thoughts about some things, and I was like, well, I should probably just write an essay because I'm due for one.
Yeah,
So that'll
contemplate
probably be
that.
coming your way. I have an idea of what it might be about, but I'm not going to say it because I'm sure I'll change my mind like I always do.
All right. So this week's topic is a very hot topic, and it is the myth of a Christian nation. So we've been wanting to talk about this for a long time and how we got to where we are today in this horrible place our country's in and world. And I just want to know, Bailee, when did you first hear that America is a Christian nation?
The belief that America is a Christian nation founded on godly principles was absolutely bombarded on me over and over and over again. I don't remember any conversation about faith that wasn't also inextricably linked with patriotism and taking the country back. They were synonymous with each other, indistinguishable. Patriotism was like godliness, loyalty to country was like loyalty to God. Criticism of America was like questioning God's plan. And so I was told that all the time. I specifically was given a lot of, I guess, fan fiction about the founding fathers being like the sexiest, hottest, youngest, just most muscular men of God ever. Oh, just never done anything wrong. Just the boner that the founding fathers gave every evangelical should be studied in a clinical setting. Like, we loved the founding fathers, and they were honestly put next to like Paul the Apostle. Like, we always said this. They're not like Jesus. We can't idolize the founding fathers. But like, if you're not, like if God's not looking, like maybe I will.
Yeah.
So anyway, we was really put them on a pedestal because what I was told was that the founding fathers created the framework for the vision that God had for America. And so any like deterrent from it was associated with like an anti-Christ or anti-God agenda, because we believed that the founding fathers were the byproduct of, the Pilgrims leaving the England and fighting the imperial empire to preserve their identity as rugged individual Christians.
Yeah, so they were under persecution.
They were grassroots. They were cool. They were edgy. They were revolutionary. And the founding fathers were committed to maintaining that and resisting the establishment of a king, the establishment of hierarchy, of the idolization of a ruler over God, which they believed and technically are correct is kind of the framework for fascism and religious authoritarianism. And so they were committed to making sure that the vision that the founding fathers had for our country was maintained. And they also believed that that vision was actively under threat with like the current situation in America. So while I was told that America was founded as a Christian nation, I wasn't always told that America is a Christian nation.
Got it.
Because that would have given Christians too much power, and that was not how a persecution complex would have survived.
Yeah.
We were told that there was once a golden age where we were in power. We were on
we being Christians.
Yeah. And that we were, actively bringing the will of God to the world. But then secularism and the liberal agenda and godlessness and the devil wanted to secularize America. And then that's when Christians started becoming a persecuted class. So we weren't told that America was Christian. We were told that Christianity was completely nowhere to be found in America anymore.
And when was that golden age taught to you?
Oh, it was so cryptic. It's hard.
Okay.
I mean, so the founding of America.
Okay.
So I guess
it was like
when the
50s or the
Constitution was
70s.
written,
Okay.
Declaration of Independence, Revolutionary War, that kind of stuff. And then I think there was a belief that we fell back, and then the Civil War and Lincoln was another golden age. The Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Just like picking and choosing.
Just like what sounds
what.
good. Yeah. And we always just assumed that that was the side we were on too.
And where was this coming from? Your family, your whole church, like every corner?
It was coming from my mom.
Okay.
And I will say I didn't really start to notice it until after 9/11.
Oh, okay.
Granted, I don't have a lot of memories from before 9/11, but I do remember.
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah, I don't remember as much American exceptionalism before then. And then after 9/11, I feel like that's where
True.
there was a militarization, there was a sense of urgency, and there was I guess, this association with defending Christianity with fighting terrorism. Those were like really linked together. Like the fight against like terrorism was part of the will of God, I guess. That was really kind of pounded into us. Foreign actors were kind of seen as like an antichrist spirit, that kind of a thing.
And like, what about you went to public school, right?
I did,
like in high school, and that's post 9/11. Was any of that combated in your education, or
It was, and that created a lot of contention.
Okay.
I think that
within you or with
in
your
my
family?
in the family.
Okay.
Because we were very, it was easy maybe the first couple years after 9/11 when Bush's approval rates were really great, when everyone was really patriotic, everyone had this newfound love for family and God and Christianity. And so that wasn't really challenged in school at all. And I also went to a rural school.
Yeah.
That,
More common.
yeah. And
to feel
then
that way.
more eyebrow raising of Bush and his foreign policy and the war on terror started coming up. And those things were not really received in my house, but they started to show up in my education. I started, finding out that there were families that didn't vote for George Bush, and there were Democrats in my class. One of my teachers didn't vote for George Bush.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was a deviation where that shift started to happen. And once that shift started to happen, I started coming home and asking more questions, informing my belief around it, and noticing a difference between what I was being taught in school versus at home. That's around the time where I felt like this God and country family militarization started really like showing up in my family. And so my mom really started, I say my mom because she was kind of the matriarch of the household and was the pastor of our church. And she really drank the Kool-Aid on a lot of the American exceptionalism stuff. She got really into David Barton, who I guess is like a revisionist historian who claims to like know the real history of America that public schools don't talk about. He kind of claimed to have this special understanding of all the things that have been removed from history books. And I don't really know where he thought his sources were and why they were superior to the accessible historical documents we had. But he had these cross-references that added context to, separation of church and state, the founding fathers, what they believed, what they wanted for this country. And his like premise was that America's belief in those documents and how we interpret them had been hijacked and warped and twisted to believe that, America was not like anti-religious, but wasn't particularly married to the church.
Yeah.
Or Jesus even.
Yeah.
So he kind of had this angle where it's like, that's not true. Here's the real history. They're trying to brainwash you. That intersecting with James Dobson's plea to get people homeschooled, believe that if you send your kids to public school, they're going to be indoctrinated and not know the real America. But if you keep them at home and you share the truth with them, then they're going to be equipped to take back the country for God.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's.
I thought it was just about pregnancy.
No, not at all. Not at all, unfortunately.
Well, as you know that I like to do, I went all the way back to understand how we are where we are today.
Perfect.
So I went all the way back to the place that I love so much, the Puritans, and then coming here and the founding fathers, just like you said, to kind of paint the picture of the true history. I have tons of sources. The main source is a lot of Wikipedia linking, but we'll put sources in the notes. And this will be a 2-part episode. We're going to go through like kind of before we were alive or sentient today. And then next week we'll go through like kind of since our time and where we are now.
Yes.
And like how this is ruining our lives. So just if you have already read Jesus and John Wayne, that's also like that's by a historian, and it talks about, it's a lot of these same threads of where we are today. And then I listened to a couple podcasts But in general, it's crazy. It's
is.
really, really crazy how we
Mhm.
got to where we are and like the roots of it all. So
Yeah.
if you don't know the story of how the United States became so Christian
Mhm.
and angry and nationalist,
Yeah.
this will be a very enlightening episode.
Yes.
And like, if you're new to listening, because we've been having a lot of new listeners, I'm very bad at history, which is why I have to take this role because I need to learn history. And then Bailee actually is more familiar with history. And
I mean, revisionist history,
yes.
so conspiracy
And
theories.
she's like, this has been fed to her since she was a child, like the opposite. And I just kind of been like floating along and was really involved in like my youth group and my purity. That was like what I was most focused on. Like, I didn't hear about this a lot.
Oh yeah, I was part of the strategic plan to like take over Congress.
Amazing.
Like I was doing an inside job.
Yes.
And you were considered like a lukewarm Christian.
Yes.
Yeah. But I was
Great.
called by God to take the country back and overturn Roe v. Wade.
I can't wait. We have so much to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back to kind of where the founding fathers were and their ideas of God when they came here. So I did an episode on the Puritans. If you haven't listened to that, sorry, we did an episode on the Puritans. I mean, I did a ton of research on the Puritans.
I honestly didn't
when we
even
had an
notice.
episode about it.
I will say a lot of times for these historical episodes, I feel like I'm just bearing witness. And I know you talk like I already know this stuff and you're just learning it. I learned so much.
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
I just mean like you have a lot more to say, where if we switched and you were doing the history lesson, I would literally sit there and have nothing to add.
I also don't think I would do a very good job because I don't know what people don't know. And I think that sometimes not knowing a lot about it puts you at an advantage with teaching because you just teach it all.
Yeah.
Whereas there's so much stuff that I just assume that people understand that I skip over and then I lose people by getting lost in the weeds.
So I would say to go back and listen to the Puritan episode we did around Thanksgiving last year. If you haven't heard that, it will kind of get you to like right now. So in this, where this episode starts. So in the 16 and 1700s, we had, the Puritans move over to the States, and there was definitely an intellectual movement in Europe where there was lots of splits of Christianity. The Reformation had kind of like settled down and everyone was seeing what they wanted. But there was definitely a big emphasis over reason and science and individual rights over monarchy. And a lot of the founders that found the United States really aligned with deism, but not evangelical Christianity.
Yeah.
So they were a little bit closer to like where the Amish were. And they definitely defined God as a creator and that he exists, but not that he intervenes every day in your life. And he's not like performing miracles and there's all this revelation. Like that comes later in the revival movements.
Yeah.
But in the original like 1700s, that's not where they were at, like in their brains.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It is really interesting though that you say intellectualism and individualism was a marker of the time after the Protestant Reformation, because I feel like that time where we were figuring out how to be Protestant, we as in, I guess, the other Protestants and myself, there was probably a lot of like, holy shit, the Catholic Church really had a chokehold on us.
Yeah.
And we were convinced that we could not hear from God unless we talked to a priest. And the priest had the ear of the king, and the king was horny and he just wanted to like keep having kids and killing his wives and all that shit. So I feel like there was this disillusionment with power and religion because it robbed them of their agency and ability to actually personally understand God. And I feel like that probably was very scary, that aftermath. And so my understanding, or what I would assume, is that a lot of that Protestant ideology or like rugged individualism came from, we're not going back to like what we experienced where we had no agency and we were considered peasants who didn't know how to read. And so kind of that rugged individualism that we see kind of in the frontier movement in America probably stemmed from this chip on their shoulder that they were still actively resisting the Holy Roman Empire.
Totally. Yeah, and when I say intellectual, I think it's more like they were critically thinking for the first time.
Yeah, and I don't think that intellectualism was necessarily, I mean, it was villainized in other ways, but it wasn't necessarily associated with immorality. until fundamentalism in America.
Yeah.
I think that there was a little bit more of righteousness associated with intellectualism.
Yeah. So they kind of saw God as a clockmaker. It's like he would set things in motion, but then he'd step back. He wouldn't be in everything every day. And that's maybe how deconstructionists see God now. Like, God sets things in motion, but he's not like, oh, I'm so going to help you with your parking spot. Like, he's not in every single thing in every day, because that if you start thinking like that, you'll lose your mind.
Right.
So God exists, but like he's not parting seas or raising people from the dead.
Right. And he doesn't have as much personal interest in what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't like sin, but he's not actively monitoring it. He's not looking over your shoulder watching porn with you like that one Bethel guy says that Jesus is doing. Like, he's just kind of more hands off. And because of that, his love probably is less personal, but also you kind of out of sight, out of mind.
So I think the biggest thread for this whole story of history is that America didn't start as a Christian nation, but it became a nation that talks like one, especially during crisis. So it's the wars, it's the crisis, it's the economy failing. That's when everyone decides to be a Christian.
Yeah. No, it's very true, actually.
So I think that a lot of Christian nationalists today really like to say, like, you know, it's in the Constitution and it's in the Founding Fathers documents, it's in the First Amendment, blah, blah, blah. But like, that doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up, because the silence of what they are saying is in there is very loud.
Yes.
Because it is not in there. So these are facts. The U.S. Constitution does not mention Jesus Christ. It does not declare Christianity as the national religion. Or, I'm just going to say right now, English as the language.
Oh, I've never even
Our
thought
country
about it.
has no language.
Yeah.
But people like to say they do.
Right.
As someone who like really loves immigrants and languages, that's a big passion of mine.
Right. Because English wouldn't have become dominant until after the Revolutionary War even.
Yeah.
It would have been French and English.
So the only reference to religion is in the First Amendment. And the First Amendment is, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay, so all these things that I think our country really does believe, we believe the freedom in, that was the First Amendment. So the biggest fear that the Founding Fathers had was that when religion and the state combine, like it was in England, that's when oppression follows.
Yes.
And that is what we are trying so hard to fight today. It's literally why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the Holy Spirit is here with us right now. Like,
she might be.
I feel like chills.
She's over our shoulder watching porn with us right now. They can't see my screen.
Oh my God. Gross. Okay. So separation of church and state wasn't anti-Christian. It was pro-freedom.
Yeah.
That's where I say the silence is loud.
Yeah. Like,
they are specifically not naming any religion.
Right.
Because they don't want it to be interfering with the government again.
Right.
Because that's what was happening in England.
Right.
That's what they left. They didn't come here to be like happy pilgrims. They came here to get away from the government and the Catholicism being one.
Yes.
Because remember, because you were British or because you were of a country, you were that religion.
Right.
That was your identity.
Right. And every historically, if you look back, every intellectual or enlightenment movement or some type of Messiah is born and shapes the consciousness is typically to counter or resist the religious political regime that is in power. Like, that's kind of what Jesus did. He came back and he was just like, who the hell made my father's house a den of thieves?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean that now you're using the house of God to exploit people? What do you mean you're using this revolutionary text to control and oppress people? And he got really mad and basically was just like, hey, money is evil. It is harder for a camel to walk through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to inherit the kingdom of heaven. The poor will be placed first, and the first shall be last. And the kingdom of heaven is already here. Yeah. And it's not of this world. So you can't combine them.
Do you have any more?
No, I'm just saying, I just think that it's very obvious that enlightenment movements are made in a response to prove and remind us that faith cannot flourish in institutionalism because it is
a choice.
counter.
Also,
you can't.
Yeah,
like it is like a mockery, and it will corrupt. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I was
so
preaching.
That's okay.
It's probably the porn.
Okay, so right after the Constitution is signed, there's not an official religion. Leaders like Thomas Jefferson and James Madison continue to emphasize separation, and all the government language is secular and legal. It's not spiritual. It's not religious.
Mm-hmm.
Religion exists, but it's private and decentralized. And I will say that when they made all these documents and when they created this country's, I don't know, rule book, they did expect everyone to be Protestant.
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
I'm not going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But they made sure that it wasn't required.
Right.
Okay. So then we get to the 1800s. And this is called the Second Great Awakening. So the Second Great Awakening was a widespread Protestant religious revival in the U.S. from 1795 to 1835. It transformed American spirituality by stressing individual salvation, evangelism, moral reform, and it helped shape the nation's religious and social landscape in the early 19th century. So these are like the movies you see where you got the old guy, going from tent revival to tent revival, on a horse.
Movers and shakers, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the religion moves from elite and intellectualism to this mass movement, and from private belief to very public moral identity, because the whole town's getting saved.
Yeah.
The whole house is getting saved. Ma and pa are out there.
Yeah. It's a family affair now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the seeds are planted that America starts to see itself as a nation with a divine purpose.
Yes.
The manifest destiny bullshit.
Yeah.
Which, if we want to explain manifest destiny, can you explain that?
Yeah.
Because I know it is, but I don't think I can explain it.
Yeah. So I think that it's the belief that America is like conquering on behalf of America is the will of God.
Yes.
And so if you're an American and you're operating on behalf of God or America, if you see something and you want it, it's yours.
It was very, I know we talked about a lot in the Mormon episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very like Walls of Jericho, where it's like, this is maybe not cute to take land from Native people, but if God tells us to, then it's okay. So it was basically just clearance and diplomatic immunity to take whatever you see in, because it's yours.
Because God said.
You're called to it.
And this is kind of where faith becomes less about structure and just going to church, and more about this is your identity. This is who you are. Even though it's not in the Constitution, it's our culture.
Right. And that shift from individualism within your relationship with God to swaying the public and evangelism and collective reform of religion is it primes the nation for revival.
Yes.
Because that's what revival is, and that's the marker of the Holy Spirit, is when everybody speaks in tongues, not just one person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting because this is also when Thomas Jefferson is president. So Thomas Jefferson's president in 1800, and he's most known, in my mind, for number one, being a pervert and having all these descendants from his slave woman. Unwanted from her, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And number two, taking the Bible and being like, you know what? I don't like this whole miracles thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a razor to it and cut out all the parts I don't like.
Yeah.
And then create his own Bible, the Jefferson Bible, which is the most boring version of the Bible.
It's super boring. And that's saying a lot, because the Bible is a tough read in and of itself. I will also say too, I don't know if this is a thing that happened to other evangelical families, but there was a period of time where, even though we loved the founding fathers, our family renounced Thomas Jefferson.
I can see why.
Not just because of his, cute little cherry-picked Bible, but because we were like, there is no way that someone who rapes a slave and owns slaves could be hearing from God. And so he was like a false prophet to us.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big hypocrisy among everyone in the 1800s because they had this huge revival, and they're talking about being persecuted Christians again. They're already starting this idea, and they love the story of the slaves from Egypt and the being free and all this stuff.
Liberation theology.
Liberation stuff. But they all own slaves.
They did, yeah.
So it's very gross.
Well, what we said about that was that essentially that was like a false prophet, or that person actually it was like a deviation from the norm versus the standard. Like, we completely did not own up to, as Christians, being the driving force of slavery and oppression. We thought that we were the abolitionists, and any person who owned a slave or supported slavery and was a Christian was lying to you and was kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, failing to recognize that that was the consensus, actually. That was like the institutional power.
I mean, it's the only reason there was so much wealth.
Yeah.
Especially in the South.
Right. And Christian abolition was actually the deviant. They were the grassroots movement, not actually I mean, Black Christianity, very different, obviously, but white people love to pretend that they're the ones who liberated people who were in slavery. So, yeah.
So this guy, Thomas Jefferson, slave owner, slave abuser, he helped shape the country, but he didn't even believe in Jesus.
No.
Honestly, he believed in kind of like the ethics of Jesus' teachings and the philosophies. That's it. So when we go back to these founding fathers, just bring up Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
We also got good old James Madison.
We liked him.
He's president in 1808, and he is the architect of separation. So he's a lot less flashy than Jefferson. He's more important, I would say. His core belief is that religion and government must completely separate to protect both. So in order to protect our government and in order to protect everyone to have their freedom to religion, we have to separate them.
Yes.
Which is very true. And also, this is such a tangent, but like, you cannot make people follow your morals because you want to.
Right.
There's a difference between like morality, like where we're heading today, and like don't murder people.
Right. I agree.
And for some reason, they couldn't figure that out.
Yeah. Well, this is also a good time to utilize throwing the baby out with the bathwater, where it's like, sure, maybe a little bit of government interference with religion or a little bit of religious interference with government is helpful, but we can't risk like the actual severity of when it gets really bad. So we're just going to completely separate the two of them.
Yeah.
They're separate, like, institutions that do not interact with each other at all.
Yeah, he really believed like religion's something that should be personal. It should be a personal conviction, a little bit more like the Amish believe, and not something the government should enforce.
Yes.
And when the government does get involved, it corrupts the religion, it threatens your freedom. And his key quote is, religion must be left to the conviction and conscience of every man. So James Madison isn't anti-religion. He's anti-government controlling religion. And that's very different from let's make this a Christian nation.
Yeah. So this, like what you just shared about James Madison and like what he established, that is a point where David Barton, who had the ear of my mother, believed was told incorrectly. And that's where deception came in. We were told that the belief that separation of church and state, meaning that religion and government can't interfere with each other, was a lie. And it was like an inaccurate interpretation of what it actually meant. We were told that actually it was in place so that the government couldn't interfere with religions and control freedom, but not that the religion couldn't interact with the government.
Okay.
Like, basically, it was framing religion as the vulnerable party and government as the like strong oppressive force. And so like religion needed to be protected from the government, but they didn't need to be protected from each other.
Got it. Okay, so then we have the Civil War. And that's when, war is really when people like to go back to God. So again, crisis forces us to make meaning out of things. So during the Civil War, both the North and South claim God is on their side. A lot of national trauma, and people look for a divine explanation. So during the key moment is that "In God We Trust" starts appearing on coins in 1860. Why? To signal moral legitimacy and to frame the war more spiritually, to kind of boost everyone's vibes.
Yes.
Yeah. So God enters the government language during a war, and crisis creates the need for meaning again. Okay, I'm just going to add in a little side note. This is also when Joseph Smith starts finding the Mormons and the Latter-day Saints movement. because he's providing some important historical context for the development of U.S. Christian nationalist ideas. Because if you remember, he had this militia and he ran for president and he tried to, really, he tried to bring religion and government together.
Yeah.
And those aspects of him are kind of like the interpretations of Brigham Young's views of governance. And it inspired a movement of like restorationist national identity and ideology. And then that was loosely affiliated with the far right LDS movements. And so in the Jesus and John Wayne book, the historian describes the rise of American evangelicalism, starting with Billy Graham in the 1940s, because he rallies and reaches youth with the gospel, but also patriotic hymns and color guards and veterans' testimonies. And so like there's all of this history that all these stories are going on at the same time. But they're all kind of going the same direction. It's like, how is this all happening so fast when no one has a cell phone?
Holy Spirit, I have to guess.
It's a big country.
Yeah.
They're just like riding around on their horse getting this information everywhere.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That is kind of wild, actually.
So then that jumps us into the 1950s. So we got Billy Graham, famous evangelist in the 40s. And then the 1950s is right after World War II. And it's when the U.S. and the Soviet Union are in the Cold War. And this is a really, really big pivotal moment because it's when people start to see the Soviet Union as communist and communists are atheists and atheists have no religion and no religion is evil. It's like the Soviets are demonic and it's because they have no God.
Yes. And there's also a stripping of cultural identity. And like in the belief of communism is that like they're going to take everything you have and they're going to give it to everyone. And you're not going to have like an individual life. They're going to tell you how to live and you're going to act like everybody else. And you're going to be clones of each other.
Yes. Which is kind of what's happening now.
Yeah. Even though communism was essentially like a labor movement, but we don't need to get into that.
So then the U.S. rebrands itself as religious. So this is when Under God is added to the pledge in 1954. And In God We Trust officially becomes a national motto in 1956. This has nothing to do with theology. It's just to show contrast. It's to show that we're a godly nation and they are godless. So without a revival, just In God We Trust is Cold War marketing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is so wild to me.
It's crazy. So then we get into the real divisive shit. This is where in the 70s that our good old friends Jerry Falwell and James Dobson come on the scene.
R.I.P.
And their legacy is the beginning of what directly ties us to where we are now.
Yep.
And it is a doozy. So if you're unfamiliar, Jerry Falwell was a Baptist pastor in Virginia. He built the massive media empire for TV, radio, and direct mail with CBN, Liberty University, and more. He was a political mobilizer, and him, along with James Dobson, who was a psychologist, not a pastor, founded Focus on the Family, huge radio reach. So where Adventures in Odyssey comes from, and McGee and Me,
I
like all
think
that
it
stuff.
is. Yeah. We were very heavily involved with Focus on the Family in our, like, I remember I had a Focus on the Family keychain. I didn't know what it meant, but my mom gave it to me. And I guess she just wanted me to like spread propaganda. Kind of like when you like ask your kid to like hand out your business card. Maybe that's what it was about.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And James Dobson was really more of like the cultural architect, really shaping family values and messaging and making all the parents panic about moral issues and telling them how to parent in terrible ways. So these two get together and they start the Moral Majority. And really Jerry Falwell's the one who did it, but he did it alongside James Dobson with the reach that they both had in media.
Yeah.
And Falwell builds this political machine and Dobson builds like the emotional and cultural messaging around it.
Yes. And the pedalization of the nuclear family.
So the modern Christian nation rhetoric is very strategically constructed, and they form the moral majority, which I'll come back to in a little bit. But spoiler alert, do you ever sit back and think, why are all Christians Republican? It goes back to these little assholes.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So the initial catalyst for the Republican Party being Christian was not abortion like it became later. What happened was Bob Jones University, a fundamentalist educational institution that starts in kindergarten and goes all the way through graduate programs, they were very racist. And because of Bob Jones University's interpretation of biblical principles regarding interracial dating, Bob Jones University completely excluded Black applicants until 1971. And because of that, they lost their IRS funding to be tax-free. So there was a big legal battle that went all the way to the Supreme Court, Bob Jones University versus the U.S. And it was basically a fight about, they were claiming like religious reasons, but what the courts decided was if you cannot abide by the fundamental ideas in the law, you cannot be tax-free.
Right.
And so because they lost their tax exempt status, and I just want to side note, he didn't even go back on that until 2000, I think. Let me find it.
I just made a connection in my mind.
2000.
And this is speculation. I don't actually know if this is true. So when I went to Oral Roberts University, one of the big selling points and things that we bragged about is that we were one of the first evangelical universities to be founded insisting on like full integration of races. And this is in Oklahoma. So when we were founded in the 60s, Oral Roberts insisted that ORU was a fully integrated university.
Yeah.
And I know that around that time, Billy Graham also started really not like engaging fully with the civil rights movement, but definitely started pushing the like Christianity is not a white man's religion alone narrative. And I'm almost wondering now, I mean, I guess it could be assumed if it was just performative to contrast between Bob Jones and the hammer that went down on him, like, oh, we're not like Bob Jones, like we actually like Black people, or
I mean, I would say it's likened to today. A lot of churches will say, oh, we're affirming.
Yeah.
But they're not. It's fake.
I mean, they typically wouldn't use the word affirming. Affirming, I think, is associated with like actually accepting. They would do the whole like come as you are. They would find little
I've had
slogans.
friends who are like, I went to the church and they said they were affirming, but they aren't up to a certain level. They're affirming for me to attend, sure.
Oh,
that's
really?
It. Yeah.
Oh.
So you have to ask a couple questions. What about in leadership? What about as a pastor?
So you have to go up the ladder. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I would say that it's a similar problem.
Yeah.
With marketing.
Okay.
But I do know that there were Christians on the right side of history when it comes to integration and Black rights and civil rights. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm also just curious, like, is it not as like morally pure as I thought it was? Like, I thought it was because Oral Roberts didn't like racism, but now I'm wondering if it was more performative and less a commitment to the fight for Black liberation.
I mean, I would say today, Oral Roberts and Bob Jones are very different universities.
Okay.
They have very different expressions of faith.
Yeah.
So it could
very much so like an international component to ORU.
I think much different. Bob Jones, in 2000, the president announced on Larry King Live that the school has dropped its ban on interracial dating in the year 2000.
2000.
And this is like the school that you've heard stories of. It's like different sidewalks for men and women, like really, really intensely fundamentalist.
Yeah.
Institution.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who started all these issues with a religious institution losing their IRS status.
Yeah. They're like a cautionary tale.
This made Jerry Falwell and James Dobson upset.
Right.
Because they were like, we have a lot of things to lose if we lose our IRS funding.
Right.
Not funding, but exemptions. So they kept trying to find what is the issue that Christians will care about where we can create a voting bloc. How can we get them? They tried a bunch of issues. None of them worked until they got to abortion. So the leaders needed a unifying issue. They had to mobilize voters, and they didn't want this PR disaster of defending segregation. So they found abortion. Abortion worked because it was emotionally powerful. It was easy to message, and there was a moral urgency.
Yeah. And it's a perfect voiceless victim.
And it's not tied to race.
Yes.
Or any of the other issues that were happening in that day.
Mm-hmm.
So abortion wasn't the spark, it was the strategy.
Wow.
Of some really good messaging.
Yeah. And before then, was there like a moral litmus test applied to abortion? Was it pretty?
No.
So people were just
Christians didn't really care. It wasn't a big deal.
Really?
No, everyone was like, it's not my business.
It was
that shouldn't
very
be a political
private.
issue. That's a private thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they were realistic about unplanned pregnancies.
Right.
Realistic.
Right.
About what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So enter the moral majority in 1979. That's where these little fuckers found themselves under their guise of abortion.
Yep.
They registered millions of evangelical voters. They aligned them with the Republican Party, and they focused on anti-abortion, traditional family values, anti-LGBTQ positions, pro-military, pro-America.
Pro-family.
These are the people who got Ronald Reagan into office.
I was going to say they primed the way for a certain California actor.
Yes.
Which is wild. I don't know if you knew this, but Ronald Reagan was not pro-life originally.
Yeah, he was a Democrat.
Yeah. He was pretty, I don't think he was like a abortion activist, but he was pro-choice. And they were like, hey, you have to change your mind about it. Like they they honestly did the same thing with Trump too, because Trump was pro-choice for a while, where they were like, this isn't going to work. We actually need you to shift your perspective on that. So like Ronald Reagan and the pro-life movement was largely performative, and he didn't even believe what he was saying half the time.
It still is performative.
Yeah.
It still is. Why would you give up a full voting block?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are people who are genuinely pro-life. I think
we have talked about this on the podcast. It was our last thing to fall.
Yes.
It's really hard when it's been indoctrinated
that it's
into you
murder,
your whole life.
That you're killing a baby.
Yeah, that it's a baby at this many weeks, and this is what its heart looks like, and this is what its little toes look like, and like you love babies, and you gotta have the baby. It's like, oh my God, I can never have that be okay.
Right. And killing babies is like the ultimate gotcha. There are very few, unless, war.
Yeah.
There are very few scenarios where you can justify the killing of the baby. So it's kind of the perfect issue.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to preach the abortion message and leave all of the nuance out, because it doesn't sound like it requires nuance. Because it's like, I don't need to know the whole story about how she got pregnant. I don't need to know the story about her life. There's no grim circumstance that would justify the murder of a baby.
Mm-hmm. So the moral majority in Ronald Reagan took the country by storm. This is a huge infrastructure moment where we have this very reliable voting bloc. I mean, Ronald Reagan won his second term with flying colors. I think Minnesota is the only state who didn't vote for him.
It's because our governor, I think, was running.
Probably.
So it was a little bit more of like an identity thing. It wasn't as heroic and noble as it's kind of like advertised, but like, Minnesota was the only state to not vote for Reagan.
Evangelicals went from politically disengaged to highly organized. Christian values became tied to the Republican Party. Issues like abortion, school prayer, family values became identities. As we can all see, this is in the 80s. It's our parents' prime time.
Yeah.
Like, this is who raised us.
Yeah. This is also the establishment of trickle-down economics, meaning that the more money you give rich people, the more poor people will benefit from it. So you actually don't want to cut taxes to wealthy people because they create jobs for working class people. And so you shouldn't be suspicious if middle-class people are taxed too heavily, because it's coming back to you. Prosperity gospel, if you give, it comes back to you. And so it also adds a sense of moral hierarchy and righteousness to wealthy people who have, by and large, been the villains of the Christian story for a very long period of time. Now they're the heroes. Now financial prosperity is a marker of righteousness and alignment with God.
Yeah, and I've thought for a long time, like, why was Reagan so popular?
Because he's hot.
Yeah. It's like he was handsome. He was very charismatic.
He's rugged.
He spoke the language well. Like, he knew how to take a speech and make it right for that crowd.
Yeah.
Like, very much like a city on a hill, and we will, like, bring the morality of the country back. And he proved, like, if you deliver votes, you get power. And it's really where religion becomes a political weapon and not just a belief system.
Yeah.
And some of the key criticisms of Reagan if you're not familiar, is his economics, like you're saying. He cut social services. He basically did nothing about the growing AIDS crisis in the 80s. There was a big scandal with Iran and arms sales to Nicaraguan rebels.
Yep.
And then he's the one who's responsible for the war on drugs, which escalated so much to have Black people incarcerated disproportionately. And just like mass incarceration. And I'm sure a lot of people weren't even guilty, like today. Really weakened unions. And he was very aggressive against the Soviet Union with his foreign policy, because that was kind of nearing the end of the Cold War.
Yeah. He also removed solar panels from the White House as an effort to, how he advertised it as like government efficiency. And so he started, that kind of triggered like the villainization of the environmental movement and associating environmentalism with excess government spending, fear mongering. And now, and so basically he was like, made it sound like it was like a bad thing to be environmentalist, because it was now associated with like reckless spending.
Yeah.
Which is not of God.
So Reagan was president until 1989. And this is definitely like going to be where our history lesson ends for today, because we're starting to be when we were alive. I was alive, but Bailee was just a thought still, right?
Yes.
Are you 91?
4.
94?
Yeah.
Oh, duh. Yeah, I'm 84. And I just continued to think so much of my life that pro-life is the reason that I vote this way or I don't vote this way. And that's how we got to like this American Christianity. But it's so much more than that.
It is. It is really
like
really wild.
You have all been duped. You have all been just victims of marketing.
I know. And it's crazy too, because I haven't read any commentary on this, but a lot of the values that are associated with Christianity today in American politics are very odd, like, and not biblical. I don't like the word biblical because that's very subjective, but like Jimmy Carter, I believe, came right before Ronald Reagan, and Jimmy Carter was a born again Christian, and he advocated for social services, helping the poor. He was a peanut farmer. He like grew up very, very poor. He actually was truly a bootstraps, like American dream person.
Yeah.
And he actually represented the working class and like spread the belief that the working class benefited from social services and that was of God, which is very easy to believe because that is a very palatable, obvious belief in the Bible. It's like very easy to find that. But with Ronald Reagan, he had to provide this counter belief. And so he started associating generosity and spending to like give to poor people as being like soft or not, grounded in conviction. So this rugged individualism and this, commitment to like cutting government spending and not being frivolous started being associated with Christian politics, and compassion and empathy started being associated with like politics pretending to be Christian, almost like a Satan disguised as an angel of light kind of thing, or a false peace. So when I was told about Jimmy Carter growing up, I was always saying like, oh, he had some nice ideas, but he was misguided. He believed some good things, but he implemented them incorrectly into policy. Whereas Ronald Reagan knew better. Like he knew how to properly integrate morality and Christianity and the will of God into politics. And he found a way to like captivate cruelty and make it seem like Hard Knocks, or
at a time when like there were so many disabled veterans coming back from Vietnam, like the poverty issue and the mental health issues were extreme.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, pull up those bootstraps and get on with it. Like stop having your hand out.
Yeah.
It's like, you just sent me to a war for no reason.
Right.
And I don't have any legs and now you don't give a shit.
Right.
Like,
and criticism of the war became linked with criticism of those veterans. So instead of, pointing out like, hey, like war actually really hurts veterans. Anytime the war was criticized, it's like, oh, that person hates the veterans. Like they're anti-veterans. And it's really bad to be
they don't want to
anti-veteran.
support our troops.
It's very bad to be anti-veteran.
Yeah.
So they found a way to make criticism of the thing that exploits veterans anti-veteran, which is insane.
Yeah. So we have more next week on this topic. So much more to say.
We do. So exciting.
But got to keep going. So I will take us out from there.
Okay.
Blessed are the listeners, for they know the difference between actual American history and the religious rights founding fathers fan fiction. Find us on PraiseBeToPod.com on the web and PraiseBeToPod on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, and Patreon. It is finished.